All right, I think that's good to go. Hey guys, normally I am doing some animation or something, but I also work in Marvelous Designer and other things as well. And today I'm going to be just playing around, coming up with some ideas for some costume stuff in here. Most likely for an animated film. I've got a couple in mind, but one in particular I think I'm just going to goof off with some stuff and see what I can come up with. It's a medieval comedy animated CGI thing. And I'm just thinking about maybe making a little blouse and skirt here, medieval style piece. So just hanging out and doing that. So I'm just going to explain as I go. I'm going to start off with a skirt pattern here from scratch. And going to, oops, keep forgetting what my navigation is. I'm just going to pull this piece down here. And I'm trying to remember how these really should be made. And this is how I had made them before. Now I know I could go with, oops, a full circle, which I don't really want to do. That's a lot of fabric for something like this. So I think what I'm going to do is do a maybe like instead of a half 180 degrees, I'll do something kind of like a 45. So it's got a bit of the hang to it, but it's not going to be so, you know, full and ripply that it's a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and edit my curvature here on this point. And what you try to do often is get your angles here exactly 90 if you can. Let's see if I can. I don't know that I can manage that through here. This one I believe really should be 90, but it's not easy to do given how this is. So I'm going to leave that one for the moment. I know it's going to give me a weird angle, and more than likely I'm going to need to bring this down in the middle, to be honest with you. And let's just go back here with our curvature again and try to get this to kind of equal out to a 90 degree there. 88 here, but that's closer, not there, but more maybe like this. It's probably close enough, but as close as you can get. I'm assuming, like I said, that this is going to be wrong, and it's probably going to need to have that 90 here, which gives me a V in the front, which will, once hung on the body, will work. So let's just do it in preparation for that problem. So this one won't be 90, but where it meets should be. You don't have to do 90s, but this really does help stuff later on. You don't get a word joining from left to right or front to back when you do that. I'm also going to edit this curvature a little bit and try to flatten this back out for the most part, which we're going to totally screw up our 90 that we had here. In fact, we could delete, nope. Let me see if I can reset this line here and just do it this way, I guess. Works the same. Something about here to get that one to be close to 90, and then this one will have to do the same somewhere here. And that should work all right. We'll find out. And for now, I'm just going to take this piece. We're going to make the front a back, and then we're also going to make a mirrored pattern of it. So I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to go ahead and do a copy and paste here so that we have the front and back pieces. Then we're going to take both of these and we're going to do a symmetric. We don't have any sewing, so hang on. We're going to go do a symmetric pattern. Okay, let's just do one at a time, I guess is what it wants. Symmetric pattern here with sewing. Makes no difference because there is no sewing currently, but that's all right. We'll go with a symmetric pattern with sewing again for this piece. and then try to stitch all these together and see how they go. All right. If you guys are watching, say hey. I realize this is an odd stream for you guys to probably come along and go, you know, hey, what's going on? Let me refresh my stream here a little bit and see if you guys are hanging. All right, so then I'm going to take these front pieces and reposition a little for the sake of being able to see everything. These will need to go to the back, of course. I'm just going to slide those this way. And I like to keep stuff kind of the same height front to back here, so I'm going to get these a little closer. I'm going to raise the whole thing up, though, just so it has time to stitch and fall without, you know, hugging around the hips all strangely and too far down by the time it does sew itself. And we can sew from the 3D view if we want. I'm just going to use a segment sewing here and go left to right like this. And there we go. And then a left to right in the back. We will have to flip these, the normals on those. Oops, hang on. There we go. Get that intact. And I'm not sure why that's running so slow on the 3D view. Might have to go back and sew these from the 2D view. There we go. So we have the sewing on this. Now we don't have the waist and stuff, so this is probably going to fall right off, right down to the ankles. I'm not sure how wide I need the top yet, so we're gonna just simulate this and see what happens. So, and right off there, exactly. Okay, so let's reset that. I'm just gonna grab my pieces, and we're going to come back here, and we are going to reset the 3D. Like that. I'm also gonna pull this one. Looks like for some reason it wanted to flip those or something. Just grab this and rotate it around. That's fine. Do the same in the back if that needs that. I just don't want to get them overlapped yet if they don't have to be. And the first thing, we need to make this top distance actually shorter. So right now we're at 225.8, and I'm going to go change length on this and do this at about, let's go 190. And I didn't want to change it that way, so let me go ahead and undo that. We want to change the length to where this is going to change from this point. So we're going to go change length. Right now it's set to start. We want to change it from end. We might have to change our let me go 180 on that actually. But we might have to change this angle. It's close to 90, close enough. I think that works. So what did I say on that one is 180 length. So we'll change this length to 180 and we'll do it at the end as well. And say okay. Whoa, that is not what I meant to do. Change length. What did I do? 180 length. There we go. And we'll do it at the end. And now accept it. And now when this sews, it should be better. It should be a little more form-fitting and not fall off, I hope. Okay, close though, but not quite. So we'll undo that. We'll have to reset these, unfortunately. And I'm trying not to get these too tight or elasticy. So what I will do now is give these an actual waist sort of band or whatever. And the way we do that is going to be by adding another polygon. Here we could add a rectangle, but I think what I'm going to do is just create a straight piece like so. And I'm being really silly, I just realized. I'm going to make this about that wide and like so. And what I've done, because I want this to gather and stuff, is not the way this should be. I want this not straight at the top, like a dork. I made this really narrow at the top. So it's not going to have any gathering here, and it's going to gather only at the bottom, and that's not what I want. I want this to actually gather at the top as well. Maybe not as much at the bottom, but something like this. We need to keep our curve here at the same. So let's try and get this at 90 like that. We'll get this one, you know, more at 90. I'm going to try and get this one more kind of straight, and then maybe fix this one just a bit. So maybe like that, and then this one can go in to create that 90 like that ish. I'm still gonna have a weird little bit of curve, but this will probably work better. I could also curve this, but I just want to see what we can get away with by doing those straight. I didn't even think about the fact that both of these have to gather. So this length here will wind up stitching to this short length here, and all this will essentially be bunched up along that surface. So now we need to make sure that this one, let's see, this is at 384.5. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Let's go 384.5 here as well. So change length. 384.5, and we want this to be at the end so that it doesn't do something weird like that. It just goes from this point and pushes it outward. Okay. So now the stitching should be the same as it was before, but now we're going to stitch this to our little bands here. We're going to make 4 of those pieces. So I'm just going to grab, this one, and we are going to copy, and we're going to paste, and now we have the 2 front pieces. And then I'm going to take those and mirror paste, or do it with symmetric pattern over here. We're going to do the same thing over here, and those going over as symmetric patterns will now stay linked, so they kind of like have the same properties and all that good stuff as this happens. So now when we sew this, we're going to do this in the 2D view here. I'm going to go with segment sewing, and that will allow me to go from this side to this side easily. And now we're going to go, and you can see that one's already linked. We're going to go from this one to here. My little notch is both to the left so it doesn't get flipped. And then we need to sew these to each other front to back. So I'm going to go where are we at here? My end here is going to sew to my end here, at least it should. And then these ends will sew here, and then these have to sew to each other in the front. And if all goes well, well, it'll probably stitch around her arms or something at the position I have her in. So I'm going to move this over just a little bit so I can see this just a little better. And I'm going to move these pieces into a better spot. Oops, I accidentally sewed that. Let's move our pieces, our pattern pieces, more correct. I'm just going to swing around. You can see these are totally off, so I'm going to pull that backwards. Same with this other one where I at here. This guy, same thing. And then we'll do the same thing with the front pieces. Make sure they're not in some kind of weird jumbled up place, because when they try to stitch together, they'll get very confused and twisted and ugly. So this is probably the best we can do on that. And then I'll just go ahead and simulate it and hope for the best. And we are close. All right, so what I want to do is get that waist to be a little more either smaller or a little more elastic. And I think what I'm going to do first is make it smaller, just so we have a little better natural way that this is going to fall and work. So I'm going to grab that and then just come over here and push this over about that much shorter. Both should have done the same. We agree to that. I'm just going to make sure these are the same length. That's 118.3, and so is that. So now we're going to reset all of our pieces here. I'm going to grab everything in this window, which will work the same over here now. And it's just a faster way of doing it. We're going to reset the 3D. I'm sorry, yeah, the 3D. I need to put all these pieces back, which is doesn't make me all that happy. And let's deselect all of them real quick. We're going to grab this here and this here, and we're going to then push them back. And then from a front view, I'm going to put them in more of their appropriate place. So this one, we'll shift click this one, get those down here. And same here. I am not a master seamster or seam. I don't know if I'm a seamstress, if I'm a man, but same idea. Let's see if this works better. Ah, so close. So what I'm going to do is do this again and reset. Sadly, I probably have to position them like that. So we'll reset the 3D again. Oh no, it kept it, so that's good. And I'm going to move everything a little bit higher and see if it gives me a little more time to simulate, and maybe they'll wind up on the waist and not fall. So that was better, but you can see how much better this is starting to work. And I either need to make my stuff here, I think I've got these flipped as well, but I need to either make these a little looser, the pieces, the waistband I should say, or not looser, I'm sorry. Either I need to make these, what am I trying to say? I think that's the right size. I can make them a little shorter. I'm sorry, is what I was trying to say. I'm trying to make them a little bit shorter and they'll fit a little bit tighter without having to add elastic, which would be not really how it was done for this stuff. So that being shorter, now we can resimulate this again, and those should, want to fall a little bit less. And you can see by putting those angles in that I did that it does fit 90 degrees. Now we do have a twist going on here, and what I want to do is first of all fix this. There we go. And we're going to try and do the same thing for the other piece if we didn't. Okay, so that looks fine. And then I want to fix these edges and make sure they're not flipped, which I believe they definitely are. So front to back, these are the backs and should meet in the middle, which is fine, but the ends are seeming to have some kind of an odd flip happen. So right here I can tell this one switches up and this switches down. So what we want to do is come in here and edit the sewing. And when we look at this piece here, we want to just delete that, add the new sewing in for these segments right here. Boom, with the switch up, and this one with the switch up. And then if we come over here, the switch looks up on both sides here. We resimulate now. That should sort out these little bits here, as you can see. Perfect. Can just go set this side too. And if we wanted to, we can increase the on all these pieces of fabric, these spacing of the particles so that they fall more naturally. So if we just select all of them, come down here to our particle distance, we'll put this at 10, which puts each particle closer together, and it'll make this fall and look nicer. The higher you go, the more higher resolution your stuff is going to be, but it is going to fall more naturally and all that. Now that will wind up giving you a little bit of problem eventually, because if your machine is taxed and stuff, that will be an issue. But everything's fine except for this bottom, how it kind of comes up in the middle, and that's because we're trying to create this in the front, and we kind of really need to go with a little more of that same angle. Now, the more of this 90-degree shape we get, the more you're going to realize we probably could have lived with a bit of more of a rectangle to start with, but it's all right. All right, so I'm just going to grab this, not all of it, but just this side here, and we're going to pull that down until it starts to look more correct in the middle and front once we simulate. And that's going to give us a much better way But all that should sort of fall. As you can see, it's a little short in the back now. And that could be just because of the way it rides up over the butt. So sometimes you need to make that back edge a little bit longer. So right now we have, that's the center. This outside is 904.3. This is 959. So in the back it should be a little bit longer. So this is 959. Let's make these 959 along this back edge. And hopefully that will fix that right up. So we're just going to take this one, change the length. And I'm just going to put 959. I didn't actually look at the number, but 959. And we don't want to add it to the top. We want to go here to the end. We'll add that bit and we'll say OK. That should look better here once it catches up and we get the simulation done on it. It should fall better. Ooh, I think I added it to the front though, didn't I? That's a good question. Why would that fall longer in the front? Let me undo that and see what happens. And boom, and no, it did add it to the back, but something's going on here, so I just need to figure out how to, you know, make that look a little better. And the way we're going to do it, oh, you know what? It's not the outside. This would have been fine. We're going to do that. Let's go back and redo it. So Control-Shift-Z should get our. Maybe not. We'll just add the 959 back. I forgot. We need to lengthen it in the back. So in the center. So let me just go here. Change length 959 again. Come on, Sean, wake up. We're gonna say at the end and say OK, which is fine. It'll be the correct length here on the edges. I'll get that simulated so this sort of relaxes out like so. And then the center, though, is what I needed to pay the most attention to. Don't worry about the black and white. That's just because I still need to flip the normals for the fabric, saying which side is inside and which side is outside. And that only really right now pertains to just its placement over here. That's why I'm not doing it yet. It's a lot less confusing, you know, when you're looking at the 2D. So now I want the inner and outer here. So this right here is 88 and this one is 89. Same difference, but I do want it longer in the center in the back. And that's not going to matter to anything except for its own seam right across from it. So let's go ahead and make this about 89. See what it looks like over here. I think we could go even a little longer with that back seam. So we can go there and then give it a little bit of simulation, and now you'll see that this really starts to be the even length from the front to the back. I think overall though it's kind of a little bit long now overall, so we're going to just take that bottom edge and pull the whole thing up a bit. Oops, that selected everything there, so I'm going to undo that, and we're just going to select the bottom edges right here and here, and we pull those up. Now you'll see we're just shortening the whole thing. And I kind of want to do it a little more because we got to think about walking and sandals and good stuff like that. So let me just see if that will still work. And that's probably all right for now. It's going to unravel itself a little bit here where it's kind of, there we go, penetrating the fabric, interpenetrating itself there. I had that problem once at a party. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to take those back pieces and go ahead and flip those normals back to where we get everything flipped correctly by just coming in here. And we're going to flip the normal. Now everything will be facing out. You see it changed over here, and that's kind of what I was trying to sort of avoid dealing with the confusion of that. So I think overall it looks good. I think what we need mostly here now is going to be like a sort of a seam or a hem of some kind at the bottom of all this. This really doesn't have to be curved here and here. These are the outsides. In fact, that may cause a bit of an issue. I need to think about, because right now these are the center lines here flipped, and this is going to be our outside. I don't really care for the way that curve happens. The length of that piece is 857. The length of this one is 865. You can see how it's a little weird. This one is 858. This one is 860. And that doesn't matter because it did need to be longer in the back. What I care about, though, right here, I don't really care for this curvature. So I'm going to try and pull that up and just sort of fix that slightly. I know it's not directly 90, but it's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. And we're going to worry about this curvature here now. And try and straighten a little bit of that. It's not perfect, but like I said, once again, it's very hard to get it absolutely perfect with this particular set of tools, but I think overall it's better. And we simulate again and we're going to have no problems. I just wanted it a little more truly correct, I guess that's how to put it. All right, cool. So now I'm going to come in and add those hem parts. Now these need to be exactly as long as the dress. Now the easiest way to do that for you guys who don't know how to do it, I'm going to just slide this over so you can see the pattern a little better. You know, all you dudes that are into sewing, we're going to go ahead and move this over. And then I'm going to select the edge here instead of, I'm going to go to edit pattern, select this end edge on both of these pieces, and we're going to right click and go to offset as internal line, and then we can pick how wide essentially we want that sort of hem or seam there to be. I'm going to kind of back it up just a bit like so. Let's go with this 460. Just one line looks good. Extend all the way to the edges and say OK. And it's just going to make a stitch line basically right there. But here's the cool thing. We right click it and we go cut and sew, and it'll cut that piece off, but it'll re-sew it automatically back to that edge to where our pattern has these separated pieces, and our image here now, our actual garment, has this extra, you know, literal hem there or piece at the bottom. Now we can take that and just visually we can sew multiple thicknesses of this over itself, which is how you'd really do it, or we can do just a visual thickness here. But what I want to do is actually what I said before, and just take those two pieces, right click and go clone, layer clone over, and this will add, you know, two more of these pieces there, and they should be sewn. I'm going to double check to make sure they're actually sewn when we simulate, and yes they are. Okay, so same thing, it just doesn't do it symmetrically that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here and we're going to say clone over the same way. So where am I at? Clone, might have to do these one at a time. So I'm going to go to this one and this one. We might as well. We're going to go clone over just like that, and it will automatically make a clone over and stitch those back down. Now there might be an open seam at some point at the ends, but I don't believe so. I think this fixes all of that. I'm just going to double check here to make sure, and yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, and that simulation is quite cool, is it not, to see all of that. So now we have this double layered hem at the bottom, as it would be in the real world. Looking pretty good. And now we're going to decide on what else we want. I'm not going to make bloomers, I don't think. That is something I could do. But I think what I'm going to start with is just some type of like a peasant shirt that goes long kind of over this. It's not like a poet shirt with the big puffy sleeves, but you know, something that is a bit more peasant-y. And I'm going to just grab all of this stuff, all these patterns. We're going to move those over into their own little area over here, so we can come in here and start working on the pattern for that that shirt. Like I said, it's kind of a peasant shirt. Okay, so first thing first, we're going to just take a polygon. We could go with a rectangle, just kind of how you would cut it out back in the day, but I think an easier way here is to just kind of think of this in kind of like in panels. So I'm just going to make a piece here. We're going to go to the center here. I'm going to make it a bit longer. Like I said, it kind of hang it down to about mid-thigh or something, maybe like this. It's going to be a little bit like a Nehru jacket or something, you know, that kind of vibe. Maybe like so, and then come up to the armpit and then here. The reason why I put that point here is so we can curve in. So I'm just going to grab the edit curvature and we can pull that piece in, creating a 90 at both sides, or as close to it that we can get. So not bad, not perfect, but not bad for sure. Can always go back in here with our edit pattern tool and adjust the 90-ness of, you know, the various sides here. So close enough, and that works. And then we can do the same thing with our curvature tool. If we want a round collar, you know, we could do that here. I'm trying to decide still if round is what I want. Kind of like the straight. I think that will be fine. It's kind of like a bit of a Jedi robe-ish kind of thing. And here we could round this as well, but I don't know that I want to. I think that would be kind of fine this way. I am going to put a hem on the bottom, so we're going to take that. We're going to right-click it on that line and go with a offset as internal line. We're going to use the same offset, I think, as we had. Maybe we'll go a little less than before, just because it's a shirt hem and not a, you know, dress hem. Cool. And then I think I'm going to draw an internal line right here, from here across to that point. Right click to accept that. Whoops. Hang on. Here. I think I have to press enter. Yeah. And make sure it's going all the way across. Sometimes you have to go in and tell it to. That one's going to be a cut and sew, so I have a cut here. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. Let me think about that for a minute. Also, I think that's a bit high, so I'm going to grab those points and we're going to pull those down to a more waisty kind of area. This could be a little wider out here as well, so I'm going to grab the well, let's take the pattern line first and pull it out like this. And then we'll take the internal line and snap it over. So I think that works for me. And cool. And then we need the sleeve here. So I'm just going to draw from here. I'm just going to kind of get an idea of how I might want that. This is going to be a little more straight of a tube because we're thinking older sophistication / tech. And I'm going to just kind of pull this sort of up and here. Now we can come in with our curvature tool and just sort of pull this in and around. We could make this exactly match. It's not absolutely necessary. What you try to do is get these links somewhat the same though. So this would benefit a lot from a 90-degree angle, starting, you know, this here, and so that it matches the other 90-degree that we are really wanting here as well. And this one can be not 90. As far as I know, this one can be mostly like this, but you know, if we need to change this, oh, you know what, I'm wrong. This does need to be a 90, something like this, and this will make this fit so much better. So cool. If you guys are watching and like what you're seeing, say hey. I am a not professional seamstress, but I also do make things for clothing for animation and whatnot. So we're going to go with a 90 on this guy. I'm going to go and try and find around a 90 here as well. So that's pretty good. We're going to go ahead and extend this down slightly, and then I'm going to do an offset internal line as well here. Probably the same as the bottom of the shirt. That works fine for me. And as far as I can tell, this is pretty much what I need to get started. So I'm just going to grab my pieces here, being this one. Oh, and I do want to cut these lines here and here. So I'm going to right click and cut and sew. That way they separate those off. We will sew here in a minute. We could sew this right now, and then when we duplicate, it will get most of it, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to grab all of these. I'm going to create a symmetrical pattern with sewing. Oops, my bad. Right click, symmetrical pattern with sewing. You know what? I'm going to have to do separate pieces here. So right click, symmetric pattern with sewing, like so. Do the same thing with this piece at the bottom. And once this is here, we probably could have sewed this, but symmetric pattern with sewing, we will wind up duplicating this instead of the symmetry option. I'll just put this here and then I'll move it. We will do this like so. I'm going to duplicate this, and then we will do the stuff for it in a second. The sewing, that is. So now we grab everything. And the one thing we're going to have to change is like the collar in the back, but that's all right. I'm going to right click. I'm going to duplicate, copy and paste everything, I should say. Put it up here for the moment. And then on these back pieces, I'm going to pull up those internal points here and here. Well, we only need to select the one. Oh, I got the line instead. Let me undo that. Just the point, and we're going to pull those up to somewhere here. And then we're going to want to adjust the curvature for that to where this essentially makes that 90, and this essentially, well, let's just worry about this one first. And then we are going to try and get this 90-ish there. So it's 96, 91. I mean, it'll work. Okay, so now we need to worry about our sewing. So I'm going to come in with my segment sewing, and I'm just going to segment sew this stuff right across the back here. We're going to do the same thing with the bottom, keeping our notch correct so it doesn't not meet, or twist, I should say, huh? These are sewn top to bottom, and so are these, because when we cut and sewed, the automatic cut and sew, it automatically cut it and sewed it. And so we need to stitch the front to the back, and this is why I don't flip them yet, because this part makes this so much easier just to do like I just did. The top of the arm and the top of the arm here, the bottom of the arm here as well. And then, of course, we're going to have to go organize this or rearrange it in the 3D view. But I think you guys get the idea. I just need to make sure that these ends are properly connected as well. So from here, and that's a down like that. Then the sides, of course, need to be correctly sewn. So that's an up and an up. This needs to be, oh, that is, okay, we're good there. And that's mirrored, so it totally automatically makes sure everything is where it needs to be. We do need to sew these sleeves on to the front here and to the back. And that, I believe, is everything as far as the stitching for those pieces. Now, over in our 3D view, we're going to have to make sure everything is position there. So I'm going to grab these pieces here, and we're going to move them back and down. So we'll just get this where it goes and where it goes here. And oftentimes, you know, I'll get a figure that if I'm bringing it from another program, and I'll make sure that these sleeves land on top of the arms. We're probably going to get some weird penetration stuff happening here this time because of the way I have to do the sleeves. Sometimes I leave the sleeves unsewn at the bottom, which is probably the best thing to do here. So I'm going to go back here and edit my sewing, and I'm going to make sure that these are not sewn at the bottoms or the wrists, because this way I don't have to kind of like fit it all in in one go. So we're just getting rid of that and that. Now these arms are just going to be sewn at the top and to themselves. And that way when they relax, they're just going to flop down over the arm, and I can adjust those however I might need. Then sew them once they're on. All right, so with that, I'm going to grab everything. Oops, let me just grab it by the... That was not cool. I'm going to grab here. I'm going to make sure that when I right click, I don't have that. I did not want to show the names. How do I unshow that? Great. Let's see if it's here. I don't see that. It might be somewhere here or here. Show pattern, layer. I just don't want to pattern name. Nope. The layer numbers is what I'm trying to get rid of. So layer, there we go. And I was looking right at it. So now I'm going to move everything up just a little bit so it will fall onto the shoulders when it stitches together. We'll simulate that. And hopefully it will land, yes, exactly how I wanted that to go. You can imagine that ever happening. Not bad at all. And that looks good. Now, to keep these from interpenetrating, I need to go in and tell the thing that all of these pieces here are on a different layer. So with all of those selected, I can come down here to layer, and I can say instead of layer 0, they're all on layer 1. Yeah, and that way when they simulate, they will simulate without penetrating each other. The reason why we have a color is because we're showing that this is on a different layer than the other. If we put it on layer 3, I think that one's going to be a yellow or something. So now we can go over here and sew the bottoms of these together with our segment sewing. We can say you sew to this, and you sew to this. Don't cross. There we go. And now when we simulate, all of the arms will now close up and be good to go. All right. Now, like the bottom hem, I'm going to double the bottom shirt hem, and I'm also going to double the sleeves here. I'm also thinking of combining the back pieces crossways to each other to make one piece so that I don't have this seam in the back. I mean, I guess typically you can. It really doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but if you wanted to, you could do that. I'm also thinking of making these a little bit rounder around the collar in the front. So let's start there real quick. I'm just going to go in with my edit curvature and just sort of pull these down to be just a little bit nicer. You'll see that this will fall way better on the neckline now, like that. And then I also want to, like I said, double all of these, clone over basically all of these cuffs. So I'm going to take that one, we're going to go layer clone over, boom. And we're going to do the same thing on this side, layer clone over. We're going to do the same thing with these. So I'm going to go right and left, layer clone over. We're going to do the same things with the bottoms. And then with the other cuffs. Just like that. Okay. And now simulate again just to make sure everything is good and set, not doing anything strange. Cool. Okay. Now I'm noticing they do kind of dip a bit at the corners, which I don't like. I think it was a typical thing because being part of a medieval society, I see this a lot. If you want to do this right, you would sort of lift the corners until these were at 90 degrees here. So we're going to give that a go. I believe I also need to lift all these outside corners of these. So, whoops, let me just select with my edit pattern these guys here. and then pull this up until those are at a 90-degree angle, and this will be much better, believe it or not, for everything involved. We're going to do the same thing here and just lift this straight up until it says 90, or 90 close enough. Resimulate, and you'll see should make everything look a lot better on the sides. Excuse me. I could be wrong about that, so we probably need to redo some of the sewing on these little cloned over pieces or something, but it's not exactly how I was hoping that would look in the end. I'm not sure also why these are being a little funky the way they are either. We could reset these particular pieces just to see. I'm gonna move these up. Just see how these are, why they're behaving. And it might have gotten rid of the stitching on the ends, but no, it looks like those are fine. Those are fine to there, those are fine to there. So what I want to do is take these particular pieces, and within here I'm going to reset their 3D, and then I'm going to resimulate once again, see if that helps, which it does for sure. We're going to go around the back. I'm going to grab these pieces here just the same, and we're going to in this view reset their 3D. Where are we at? Hopefully it won't send them to the front, which I think it did. I'm going to grab these ones and pull them back where they really should go. So 1 second. I'm not sure why I put them way back up there, but sometimes it happens. We'll pull this back now and down. Resimulate. Okay, so what I don't like, this is what I was trying to avoid, and I actually made it happen more. I put the straight here, but I now achieved a point there, and the way we get rid of that is to put some curvature here that kind of S-curves a little bit, kind of like we have in the sleeve. But that might cause a problem with these guys, so we're going to relink these, recut these, and just to make sure we can get the right shape. So I'm going to delete all of these little extra bits on the bottom, front and back. Delete those. No worries though, because the little length we're losing we can always pull back down and recreate. Now I want to adjust my curvature here of this and just really concentrate on kind of trying to get a 90-degree point kind of here. So that's pretty close. And it's going to make a nice smooth transition here, but I still want these sides not high like this, right? So I think we're just barking up the wrong tree all the way around with all of that. I'll fix that kind of after the fact. Let's just get these points closer to where they were before and not worry about this 90 here right now. And just want to try and make a 90 across the front, and then we can put a curve here. That would be the smart thing to do. Also, I'm going to pull this out a bit farther so we get, so we get a, let me undo that as well. So we get a, let's check something here. Did I not move everything? I swear I did. I'm going to grab these and pull them down so they're equal. And then, like I say, what I want to do here is really get these curved on the sides. So I'm going to grab my curvature and pull this up to be more of a 90 here. Wish it was reading the curve right now, which that's fine how that's working. So you need to make sure we do the same thing to the back. Close enough anyway, right? Let's see, let me pull it from here. Pull this in from here now. Just trying to get a 90, 96, 4. It's because there's a little tiny curve right here, I think, in that I don't really want. So I'm trying to get rid of that. And we get close enough to 90. We will leave it, but maybe a little more. But you get the idea. Cool. All right. So 89 is fine. All right. So it's a little bit different shape, but I don't think it's going to matter a whole lot overall. So we can do like so. If the curvature isn't working, we can come up here and go to the edit curvature point. Obviously we can adjust this to be 90 just with the handle, which is what I'd rather do. The longer we make it, the more precise we can be. So let's just go to 90 like that, and then these will wind up looking much more similar. And I'm going to address this. We should have a more straight and correct looking shape overall. I think these might now be a little shorter on the sides than they should be. I don't like this weird hip kind of curve now at all. So another way we can manage that is to pull this guy out. I'm just going to grab this. So there's a lot of trial and error here I'm doing, but as you can tell, I know that this will work for it and not give that weird pocket to the side. And then we can go in and edit the curve point. Is it curve point I'm looking for? Yep. And then I can tell this to not have that curvature, and this can be also not having that curvature. Come on now. There we go. Grabbing this. There we go. Something like that. It's got a little bit. It's not going to be as noticeable now. And we're going to do the same thing here to where, you know, that pretty much is pretty straight, as well as this. All right. And that should be good. This is a little more blast out, I realized in the middle, but I don't think that's going to be completely detrimental to anything. Let's move it over a little bit. Either way, it's good now. And we're going to test this one more time by simulating it and seeing how it lays. So I think that's better. We still have because of the butt shape, I think we still have a little bit of a rise in the back. And I almost want this to be a bit looser than it is through the sides. So I'm going to move my arm pieces over. Just give myself some room here. We can move these two, no problem. Do the same thing with the fronts. You know, don't be afraid to move this junk around. You don't have to leave it where it sits. It's not going to affect the actual garment, right? And I'm going to probably make this just a bit wider. I think that it needs a little more, maybe not, you know, room, because that looks all right. But see how this kind of tucks in? I don't really like that. So we're going to grab some points, this dude and this dude to start with. I'm just going to pull these out. And then to get rid of this sort of middle curve kind of thing happening, I'm going to do the same thing and just sort of pull those out. And when we simulate, this should be a little better. And then I'll go ahead and I think make the bottom edge wider as well. So why don't we just go ahead and grab those, whoops, not that, this. Gotta make sure I only grab the points here, that, and that, and then these. I'll worry about that little curvature here in a minute. Just kind of get this whole thing a little bit wider, and it'll be a little bit more baggy, which is what I want. And then once again, we'll go back with our edit curvature, and we can fix all of this mess. No problem. This can be adjusted just a little better as well. In fact, these need the curve point adjusted so that I can get rid of this inner and outer kind of curve thing happening there. And when we simulate now, everything should be much better and fit a little more like almost like a dude's shirt does now, like a tabard kind of thing, but closed. Still feel like the back can be a little longer, but I don't think that's killing me. Plus, if we put a little split, a split in either side of this is also something that was done. That way you can sit without it bunching up around your butt and stuff like that. So just want to see if this is kind of how I want that to go. I mean, it looks okay, I think, but at the same time, not sure. Yeah, let's go ahead and unstitch it, on the sides there a little bit. So we're going to go here and edit our sewing. And where we have this bottom here, we're going to delete these on the sides. And then I'm just going to stitch from this middle point to just partially down. So we're going to use what we call free sewing. And I'm just going to go from the center here down to however high I want that, which is going to be about right there. And then we're going to go on the other side from here down to the same spot. And that will mirror across. So now when we simulate, we'll have this sort of, what would you call it? Like a little, not a dart, but like an opening, that will work. And I'm seeing, okay, this front should definitely probably be shorter or be cut, more of like an angle. So this point, basically, is how you fix that. Needs to be shorter. So because we have this length difference between the two, we can see that this is 422.2 and this one is 479. This needs to be 422. Close enough, right? And now when we simulate, you'll see that this meets better, even though, yep, still not perfect, but it is closer. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull this up even more until we can kind of see these be matched on the side here. Just a little better. See, when it relaxes, it comes down a little bit. So I'm just going to pull this up even a little more. Whoops, not the whole thing. Let's stop that. We're going to grab just here. Give that just a little more something. We're going to simulate it over here again. You'll see it relax again a little bit. But it is more even now. And to get rid of this, if we wanted it straight across, then you would just pull, whoops, you would pull some of that up in the front as well. There we go. And if you want this even more straight, you just go until this says approximately, 90, which is going to be here. But to me, that just defeats the whole purpose of what we just did. So we're just going to pull this back down a bit just to get this more of a straight-ish kind of thing across. Maybe not that much, but a little less, maybe like so. There we go. And now we've got, our little overshirt thing. I think that's all right. Now we can decide on, any kind of decorating, blah, blah, blah. Seaming. This is, another thing. We're gonna make a bottom edge to the shirt just like we did everything else. I also want to kind of get rid of this sort of curvature that's happening here. No need for all of that. And we can create those sort of seams and stuff again. So from the bottom edge, we're going to grab that. And we're going to grab the bottom edge of this one. And we're going to add, right-click, a offset as internal line. And probably, yeah, that's going to be fine. We'll say OK. And it's going to give us that little seamy bit that we can go right-click and cut and sew. And then if we want, we can duplicate that over just like we had before we deleted everything. So I'm going to grab these. In fact, I'm going to grab the fronts as well. Right-click and clone over if it'll let me to. Let me right there. Good. If it'll let me to. All right, and there we go. Those get sewn on, and then when we go back and simulate, of course, we will have that looking good. Once we're done with setting all this up, though, we will go back and turn the layers back off to where the layering is, would you say, all on the same layer before you export it out. Another thing I'm not liking too much as well is how these sort of gap fold over and sort of get under each other. If we were to cut these, you know, more at an angle where that sewing starts and stops, I need to figure out where that's at. So I'm going to just check here and see if I can see it this way. Edit sewing. This is pretty much the point. And if I can cut from that point there down a little bit, that would be good for us. Or not even cut, just, you know, use that as a placement. Because if I move this point now, I don't think that that's going to move the way I want it to, because that doesn't really act as a break, I don't think. So I'm going to just grab this and move it, and you can see it moves the whole side. We don't want that. I want that to be like a split line at the same point that our sewing point is right here. So we're going to come in here and add a split point line. And you can see if I slide it down, I can almost feel, you know, where that break should be. So I'm just going to, maybe, I don't know if it's going to be above or below. I'm going to check this one more time. That's going to be approximately there. And I'm going to try and look at it exactly where I need it to be. So that there's the one. And then we need to do the same thing on the back. So I'm going to just look at where this one is here. I'm going to try and get it in my vision and then snap it right to it like so. Now we can move that bottom corner. And yes, we will have to move everything. And we're going to move that slightly in to create that little dart. We're going to do the same thing here. And I got to change the curvature on that, but that's the only thing that needs to really be messed with. So right here, just pull this back to being what it's supposed to be. This one as well. There we go. Do the same thing with the other. If these are angled weird, we can go and fix that as well. But now when we simulate this, you'll kind of see these won't really be as quick and you know, overlapping as much as they could be. Actually, they are pretty good though, and I think that's just the fit of it. I could change that even more, but they are better than they were, at least. And then we want to put a little seam on those guys as well, that we can either, yeah, I think what we'll do is do an internal line for that seam. Here and here. Let me reselect it. So right here and here. Here, here, and here. We could just offset this as a little internal, I believe. Offset is internal line. Not that far, obviously. So I'm just going to go until like maybe 5 or so. Maybe. Let's just try a 5. And what happens now is, I'm just going to check this. Maybe it needs to be a little thicker. But if we, let's go back and do it again. Right click, offset as internal line. Maybe go with a 7, 5, 6, 7. Go 8. And that way we can kind of see it here. It looks good. If we wanted to, obviously we could come in here and cut and sew. This is going to make keeping up with our patterns a little bit more difficult as we go. It may add a little issue to these, but this is something we can add later. But I think overall that's going to just kind of give us a nice overall look on the outside. All right, we can also do a little split in the front here to where it acts like a little, it's like pulled down but sewn just from one point. So I'm going to go back here, edit our sewing in the front here now. We don't have to worry about multiple layers or anything here. we just need to tell it to delete this sewing for now, and then go and do a free sewing from the bottom up here. So we're just going to go free sewing from here to wherever we want this split to be. So somewhere, you know, maybe there. We want to keep her modest, right? And then from here to here, that's where it'll sew. And then this here will no longer be sewn. So we can then, you know, kind of create a collar, like a hem around the collar and that little area. And it'll start looking better too. So I'm going to re-simulate, and you may see this fall open. There we go. Something a little more like that. Hopefully we didn't crash, but it's going all right. If we did crash, oh, okay, we're good. Cool. So just running a little slow, but looking good. I think I might want to even lessen the width or cut more off this back. I don't think it looks bad, but I just kind of almost want more of an opening front to back here. So this back section would need to be cut even farther back. But that is going to be an issue because of our things. Remember all of this stuff I was talking about? So not really going to worry about it at the moment. Let's just go ahead and move on. And I think it's fine. It looks good. So to fix this collar, I'm going to need to do the offset as internal line for the pieces that we want this on. This would be just for the collar, so we're going to start here and here. Well, actually, we don't need to do both sides, but there and here. And now we're going to do an offset as internal, and we need to make this wide enough to where it's going to give us kind of a collar vibe. So we'll say okay. We can then right click, and if we wanted to, we could do the cut and sew on that. So let's go ahead and do a cut and sew here. And then for the back, that is fine, and we'll duplicate that here in a second. But the front, we need to figure out where our piece is here, so we can make this little cutout, not a cutout, but the little extra seam for the opening. And so I'm just going to kind of feel that out by turning on the edit sewing again, and we can see it's right there. And what I want to do is create an internal line. Internal polygon line right where this, pretty much where that starts. It's going to be wrong, I'm going to tell you right now. And then I just want to go all the way, you know, I'm going to click here and say done, but then I'm going to say enter. Oops, darn it. Let's do that again. So I'm really trying to scope that. So as I get this ready to go, I'm going to look at that. That's my approximate placement. I'm going to come over to about approximate width. I'm going to go up, hit there. I'm going to enter this. And then I'm going to take this line and extend it to the pattern edge here. So I'm going to go like so and say extend trim to the pattern out point, and yeah, go ahead and yeah, like so. So it'll finish that off. Then we can cut this away, and hopefully it's close enough to that other point, the stop point, which I think it is. It looks pretty good here, as you can see. I'm not hating that. So we're going to take this section now and use those as cut lines here and here. Right click and cut and sew those two little chunks, and then they need to sew obviously to this top part. So I'm just going to go here to our free sewing, and we need to remove any of this. So I'm just going to go and delete. Just because it's not the same length, we're going to go to edit sewing. I'm going to delete this little part and this little part. Then we're going to come back here and re-add it just to make sure that it is correct. So I'm just going to go to segment sewing and go boom, and so you can see it's not a separate piece. Yeah, that was the problem. So with that, we're going to go with free sewing, and I'm going to go from here to here and from here to here, and now we'll have that separate piece sewn, and everything should stitch together right. These little gaps will close perfectly like that. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit to make sure it looks fine. And with that, now we can duplicate all these collar pieces over, including the back. So we'll take this. I'm going to zoom out, and we're going to grab this and this. I'm going to right click, and we're going to say clone over, layer clone over. I'm going to make sure that these are, approximately where they should be to still be able to see them. Okay, these are going to be a bit of a pain down here to kind of view, but all this can be shifted, so we can grab all that, and then I'm going to grab these 4 pieces and move them all up out of the way so we can make room for those others, like so. All right, if you guys have any questions or anything, if you're watching, let me know. All right, so with that, then we have our cool little almost Nehru jacket look. And now I'm wondering if the sleeves are the right shape. They feel a little, I'm not sure. Maybe they should be bigger, but I don't hate it, I don't know what she looks like with her arms raised though either, but for a woman walking with her arms down, they're not bad. I'm almost thinking that all of these points and these points should be moved in more, as well as this I can already tell is the wrong curve. So that we're going to fix right away. We're going to do edit curvature, and we can only do one of these at a time. So I'm going to pull this down until we get pretty much our 90 here and there. That's still a bit wrong up the top, so I'm going to do 94. And we can just come in and edit the actual curve point, which I'd rather do. So 90 here, 90 there, close enough, right? Like that-ish. There we go. And with that, we can do the other one now because I know it must be wrong as well. Definitely, I can see it from here. So we'll just come in here and select this and, edit curvature of this point. 90-ish. We got to make sure, though, it's not a horribly large difference, though, between this length of this piece and this piece here. So this one, just checking it, will be different, but this says 190 and this says, ooh, lots different, right? So the way we would solve that is just start to pull these back out a little bit, keeping our angle. And then you can see this number going down. We do the same thing here, trying to keep the angle. This number goes down a little. It's still not going to be absolutely correct, but we're trying. Something like this-ish. Okay. And when you resimulate, we can see this may or may not fit better because of it. I think we're still getting a stretch. We have no dart, so I mean that's part of the issue with women's clothing. You should really have those darts that come from about here. That is an actual open part of the garment, giving more room for things to exist. Plus this is really where you get like tension and stuff like that from the sleeve. So another thing we can do here, like I said before, is to grab this point, this point, this one, and this one, and sort of move this over to be a little more narrow. That way this sort of comes up more on the top of the shoulder, and then we can adjust our points as we need, something like that again. These, of course, need to be at the same correct level of correctness. And the same here. Since these are done now, we can go back and sort of readjust that a little bit. Move in and we can then get a little tighter with the measurement there. Just making sure these are also closer if we can. And that's as good as we're going to get with those probably. And I'm just going to kind of re-simulate and see what this shoulder is going to look like done that way. It does pull this a little more open, which I don't want. So I'm going to go back and just undo this movement of shortening those guys back in, because I think it's actually hurting the overall look. So if anything, we may have wanted to bring them farther out like that, and then pull them all more this way instead. We might get an actual cleaner look to this. So I'm going to go back to 90 on all of them. 90 here. Make sure this one is as well. Close enough, you know. Like that. We'll check the front now. 89. We need 90 if we can. And the length of these, you know, curved lines and stuff really makes a huge difference. Like I said, I'm not a professional seamstress or anything, so I'm going to get some guesswork, you know, that's what I'm doing. So, but it's working. And I just need to make sure these are close to 90. That. Just trying to make it look the best it can. And we're going to re-simulate this, and this should tuck down in the corner. There we go. And I think that's going to be a lot more of a, you know, it might bunch up when the arms up, but I think that'll be a more comfortable fit anyway overall. These kinds of things with this kind of curve is not meant for raising the arms over the head, because they're more like a dress shirt. So I could go in here and straighten this out, more of a rectangle or a more straight line, and this one as well, and it'd probably look a lot more like a traditional outfit that way. We could try it, but you know, there's nothing wrong with the way this is looking right now. This is more truly modern correct anyway. All right, cool. So with that, if we wanted to, we could make a belt that actually will work on here to give it some realism and, you know, hold this all together. Just trying to make sure that this is not bunched up. We have a double seam on the sides. We could go put that same thing here. It's just up to how you want that to work with and interact with your stuff, your figure and all that when we're done. I'm going to go ahead and make all of these flipped back. I'm also going to put these on their back on layer 1. And actually, instead of the points, I guess that does still work. I'm going to grab all of the layers here. Where are my layers listed? My layer number. Go back up and see. I've got everything. So there we go. Layer. We're going to put this everything on layer 0 right now. And then we're going to flip all the back stuff. So flip the normals back to the out direction. You'll see it flip over here, and that's why I do this, so that this confusing mess you can see now wasn't how we were working before. It was a lot more intuitive to do it the other way. So you can see after this I have to sort of move stuff around, figure out how it goes. Not that we need to, but when I go to do the UVs and stuff, this really kind of needs to be a little more clear. So that's the only reason why I'm taking the time to do it. Oops. All right, so basically that. And so now you can see the whole thing kind of out as it goes. Now the issue I'm seeing now, I was wondering about this, the length of the front and the back are not the same, so they're going to have this ripple. This is going to be a pretty big deal given the fact that we cut and sewed all this stuff apart. So we can handle this by just deleting these two seam pieces and the ones here, correcting all the lengths, and then recreating these or restretching the width of this out. We do have to re-sew everything because obviously these will not, these aren't stitched anymore. So by checking the links now, and that's my fault because I changed that thinking it looked better, but you know. So 802 on those and these are now at 190, which isn't that far off, to be honest. So I'm going to just kind of go in here. Oh, it is because that's 220, that is 215, and that is this, which is only 550. So that really needs to be as long as the back. So we need to extend these points here. I'm going to move some pieces out of the way real quick. Pull these down, pull these down. And like anything, it can be tedious. So, all right, how you doing? And I'm going to probably get rid of this point. It's not really needed. And with this, like I said, this needs to be, because right now we're at 550. This one is at 802, so that's no good. So let's go ahead and bring this down to somewhere to where this all equals 550. And I think I'm going to get rid of these lines. There's no reason to get rid of the points. Get rid of these lines and points. There's no point, get it, to any of that right now, I don't think. So with that, that one is at 802. This one needs to be basically the same. So we'll just go here to, seems like so much longer, doesn't it? I hope I'm doing this right. And we'll just go with close enough. I'm going to click on this and actually type it in. So 802 and start or end. So probably start, end, start. No, it needs to be end. Yep. We'll say OK. And then we'll pull the front. And I can already tell you that's way too long. How did I manage that? I don't know. So let's undo. I just got to figure out what the length really oh, you know what? I'm measuring the middle and not the outside edge. That's why. So this whole thing, that's what the problem was. It needs to be these edges because I flipped the normals. That is going to be 613. I knew that. So this should be 613 or close. Much better. Just go ahead and redo this as 613. We'll do this from end, I think. Yep. And we'll say OK. And then this one, they just need to come down in the front a little bit to the middles. All right, cool. This is still going to have an issue, I think, but when we sew it, it may still work. So right now that's a 613 total, and this one is a, and you know what, we are, I think, going to get rid of this point and let these be straight for the moment. I know that was my sew line, but I just want to make sure these are right before we do anything else crazy to them. We're going to change this link to 613 and probably do that at the end. Yep. Say OK. And now we can stitch those back together. So from the side here, we're just going to go to segment sewing and pull this side there to this one here, and hopefully that will make some sense when this all simulates back. I think that looks better for sure now. These are going to need some adjustment because, crying out loud, you know, let's get that. I think that's working much better now. We don't have this split, but that's okay. I think for the moment I'm also going to kill these guys and recreate them just until we get everything good, because all this extra hems and stuff is just trimming that can be recreated once everything else is correct. I'm going to let this fall again. There we go. Straighten out, be in a good spot. Okay, there we go. And then now I can worry about the splits, and then once the split is done, then I can worry about the hems. And that is a mistake that, of course, I made. And let's just see where we want this now, because we'll create this before we do anything else to it. We're going to create an internal line here, and I'm just going to come up probably, I don't know if I can see this from the outside or not. Why isn't this evident on my piece? I'll just probably put it here. And I don't need an internal line. What I need is to edit the... Oh, yes, I do, because I'm going to actually make a cut. I knew that. So internal line, somewhere about... let's escape. Somewhere about here to maybe here. Enter. Okay, that works. And then we're going to do another one on the front. So I'm going to have to cut and sew that. We're going to go back to here, click on here and do a cut and sew. And this line now is going to be 126. So this one's the one I want, which is going to be 116.9. And we're going to do this from the outside corner here. 116.9. We're going to use an internal polygon line. And we're going to go from, I mean, I don't know where 116.9 is, but I'm going to make this first. And then I'm going to figure out where it goes here, I guess. I don't know what I'm doing. Thought that was pretty clear. You know what I'm going to do is, yeah, here we go. I can look at it this way if nothing else, which is the smart way. We're going to pull this up until we get to that point here. I know that's too high, and this will be closer. We'll just move this until we're close enough. That looks pretty good, so I'm just going to go with this. Okay, I don't know if that's actually snapping, so we have to click on the line. And then we change the extend to pattern outline, and that should, yeah, snap it right in there. And now we're going to cut and sew that piece as well. And with that, these internal pieces will be deleted. So this will go, and so will the other one. And those should be the same. Yep. So all this goes away, and the ones up at the top also will be deleted. So now when we simulate, we will have like a little flap here that allows for, it's a little bigger than I wanted, but it still, you know, allows for sitting and whatnot. Cool. And so now I can put the trim and the trim even around those pieces. That was the point. So we're just going to come in here, select our lines here and here. and here and here. And now we can offset those. Oops. Come on, dude. We can offset these as internal lines. Like this. And as far as we want, this will actually create us a nice little hem. And we'll just say OK to that. And then, of course, we can cut and sew these. This one's a little off there. But I don't hate it. It's just not exactly right. Wonder if it's the front or the back. We can fix that real quick, though, probably by... There we go. Perfect. And now we can take these lines and these up here, and we're going to cut and sew these pieces to where we have these separated, and they leave us with a nice little sort of seam around everything. If we want, like before, we'll take those and we will clone these over and just do this all in one operation, just like we did the collar. Whoops. Did those not cut? I'm going to have to select these separately and just find out. I'm pretty sure they did, but I guess they did not. So for whatever reason, I think these did not extend to the pattern outline. We have two of them, which I'm not thrilled about. Oh, you know what? It's there, but this one, for whatever reason, did not work. So unfortunately, let me go back. I have to get these cut again. Pain in the butt. And then I have to realign them and the whole thing. So yay me. All right, so this is not going to the edge is the problem. Somewhere in here. Should be fine. Probably a little lower. There we go. We want this to, though, go to snap over on this line if we can. So I'm going to make sure that that extends to the pattern outline, I hope. Like that. Hopefully now it will work. And once again, we will cut and sew those. Cool. Those are now separated as they should be. So now we can come in here, as I was trying to do before, take these pieces, all four of them, and do what's called a clone over here. And make sure those are all, you know, doubled, essentially. Like so. We can resimulate that to make sure everything is, you know, stuck together, looking good. You know, as far as I can tell, it's working out. There we go. They're all on the same layer, though, so I have to be very careful that they don't start to interpenetrate and cause a pretty massive problem. But I think that looks pretty good. This is basically a little sort of Viking-esque. It could even be Middle Eastern. But this is a skirt and a top. And it's just a good start for a, you know, someone in a medieval village or something like that. You know what I mean? I totally could create a belt for this or something, you know, and have this all work with it, export it all out after we've simulated. But I think for the most part, this one is looking pretty good. It's done. Cool. I think that'll be it on this one. Appreciate you guys watching. There'll be a lot more coming up. So appreciate it. Have a